Minds of Mistila is a strange book. Kind of like a story about the lives of a few central characters from a place called Mistila. And Mistila is a village or a mountain or a plateau or something where these people live by mining air. Obviously, this is a metaphor, and most of the book is about exploring the metaphor of what the air of Mistila actually represents. But the result is this kind of strange atmosphere, which is sort of like a cross between the village of the Smurfs and an advertisement for mineral water.
Sing a happy song. La 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 la, Smurf the whole day long. Smurf along with me.
Make it even more distinctive, it's a collaborative effort born of a dialogue between Philip Gross and Sylvia Kantaris, who sent each other these poems over the course of some 3 months. It was good enough to become the Poetry Book Society choice for the year when Schwarzenegger starred in Red Heat. So it's worth asking ourselves, how did it stand the test of time? I have the impression that people don't like these video reviews when I'm saying nice things about poets, so this one isn't going to earn me a great deal of favor because there is a lot that I liked in this book. The whole idea is just clever and easy to follow. You are introduced to Mistila via a perspective that you can easily relate to, that of someone who got lost and stumbled there by mistake. And you meet recurrent characters that you slowly get to know. The book is divided in 12 chapters, each of which explores a theme, like generational conflict or religion or law, making sure that the reading experience stays fresh. Kind of like mineral water.
Can you crawl through a water tap?
Yes, we smurf through a water tap.
And climb through a smoky hole?
Yes, and through a smoky hole.
Can you play a tune on a flute?
Smurfing the flute, we think so cute.
Do Smurfs like...
Fiction works remarkably well, and the voices of the two poets results in an ambiguous narrative. Technically, I imagine it must be possible to isolate the stylistic traits of the two poets, but A, I couldn't be asked, and B, I think the poems actually work better when you don't know who wrote which one. The subject of subject matter, I really wish we could see more of this, where by this I mean poetry collections that tell a story without being simply short novels in verse. Mistila is composed of 12 self-contained little episodes, which are not short stories, but individual poems on a common theme with common characters. When you take all of the chapters together, a story spontaneously emerges, but from the links that your own imagination provides, and not because it's being dictated to you. The real success of this collection lies in telling, efficiently and colorfully, a story that could not be told in any other medium. Novel, film, mineral water.
Whoa! Beetle does mineral water! Good for digestion. Digest bricks, leather jackets, British cuisine, Icelandic cuisine, and this goat on a boat, which is probably a popular dish in Icelandic cuisine.
You can usually tell the quality of a fantasy tale by the names of its characters and places. For instance, the master J.R.R. Tolkien has a land that is the home of all evil, and he calls it Mordor. The word sounds like a growl, it's got an internal rhyme, it's got connotations with death in all of the Latin languages and even with murder in English. In brief, it's a great name. Even in simpler fantasy narratives, a name like Luke Skywalker is already full of meaning, and it enriches the world that we're being introduced to. So with this in mind, two poets come together to create a world based on underground mining and air, and they decide to call it Mistila. Seriously? That's the best that you could come up with? As far as I've been able to discern from the back cover, the whole collection stems from a short verse written by Sylvia Kantaris' son, in which he mentions Mistila. So I guess she has an emotional bond to the name, but what kind of a fucking name is Mistila? Sounds like the setting for a Harry Potter fanfiction story written by a 12-year-old. Doesn't suggest or mean anything other than that the place is a bit misty. And yes, that is just about the only thing that I did not like about this collection. This collection centers around the idea of air used as a metaphor for something else. And I have to say, when Gross and Kantaris are being quite misty about what the metaphor actually means, especially towards the beginning when you're still finding your feet in this strange world. The poems are very successful and profoundly suggestive. Once you unlock the signifying chest, however, the verse loses much of its freshness. It turns out that the air of Mistila is just language, and the mystery of this people is simply that they use language in such a way as to reveal its absurdity. They assign arbitrary meanings to certain words and thus make up absurd sentences. They interpret figurative language literally and vice versa. Or they may do something as simple and as old as making fun. Now, don't mistake me. I enjoyed the collection as a whole, and I loved what it does with narrative form. But I think there is one thing that it really lacks, especially for a fantasy tale, and that is genuine creativity. I've voiced concern in the past about the dangers of having a poetic scene which is almost exclusively composed of teachers and academics. And this book, in spite of being more than 20 years old, is case in point. Gross and Kantaris don't know or don't care about anything else other than the preoccupations of a literature scholar. And the result is that the only topic they really explore, that of the nature and the subtleties of language, is one that I've already read about 40 million fucking times. Now, this would be a problem in and of itself, but in a fantasy narrative, it defeats the point of the genre. Fantasy tales like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or what have you are usually about leaving school, not wallowing in it. And that's normal because anyone with 2 fingers worth of a forehead can tell you that school is a boring place to be in. I do want to see more poetic narratives like this, but please, next time let's have it be about skateboarders, or about firemen, or about goddamn lawyers, for crying out loud, anything. But let your world of pure imagination be more than just another library.